Hi everyone, I tried to film the intro for this video for a few times now and I keep stumbling over my own words, so I hope third time lucky. Okay, so today I want to show you a few techniques and we're going to talk about different inks, or the inks that I like using, so the inks that I would recommend to use, and the tools that I also enjoy using and would recommend to use. Also a few tips and tricks for those of you who are new to stenciling. And there will be a separate video where I will show you how to incorporate these with the illustrations and the artwork that I'm doing here on my channel. So first of all, let me remind you what they are. They are Chrysanthemum, Iris, Tulip and Waterlily. So the Chrysanthemum and Iris are similar in terms of detailing, so they're not as intricate or detailed as Tulip and Waterlily. Waterlily, out of all of them, is the most delicate and intricate design, and I will show you what to do and how to approach that. The Tulip as well, it has super tiny little elements to it. You can see as little as that, and you do get the impression through it. You just need to know how to work it. Okay, so first of all, let me show you what they look like once you ink them up. So here we go. We've got the Chrysanthemum right here, and you can see that the impression is not... If I actually put it right close, then you can see that there is a little bit of ghosting or shadowing actually just around here. And the reason was because the stencil moved tiny little bit when I was doing the stenciling. So what you need to do is, when you're doing stenciling, you grab your stencil. Mine have a bit of color because I already played around with them. And you need to use washi tape to secure them, preferably on all four sides. But two sides also work really well. So once you secure them, it will stay in place. So it means it won't shift. Sometimes we're in a hurry and we think, oh, you know, I'm just going to hold it. But somehow when you hold it, it always shifts just tiny little bit. You can see this shifting. That already would create this sort of ghosting and shadowing. So always make sure you adhere your stencils just on the side. The way I designed them, you have always a little bit of space around. So if you don't have it right here in the middle for the washi tape, there is space right here and here, so you can pick your sides where you want to do it. And here is a bit more space, so it depends really which one you're working with, but on all four of them there is enough space. So that's one thing. The next thing to know is, if you're working on a journal, which in my case is finishing and I have very little left, when I lay it flat, it's not going to lay flat, it's going to have a pocket underneath it where you can see I always can stick my finger in there, and then it sort of cascades down like that. So that's not a good angle to work with stencils. The slope is most likely to guarantee some sort of failure. So get another journal similar of the thickness of your used up part of the journal. Lay it underneath and then see what happens. You're working with completely flat surface, so it lays flat. The stencil will lay flat, and that means that you're working on a beautiful straight surface. So that's another trick. The next thing I want to talk about is the intricacy of these stencils. So the first one, the Chrysanthemum and the Iris, they are of a similar detail, so they are easier to work with than the Waterlily and Tulip, purely because those two have more detail, they're more intricate, and particularly the Waterlily is super detailed. Okay, so basically You can see that here I have a very clear impression, and that is because I have used the washi tape. I secured it on all 4 sides and I got a super clear impression, and you can see how detailed it is, and that you get even these tiny little dots and all these little patterns here. So the iris we already mentioned that it's similar to Chrysanthemum. It's really easy to do because it doesn't have such small detail, and clear impression again because it's quite straightforward. With the Waterlily you need to practice a little bit or find the best way and technique. Now for me it was, with all the others I have used the this type of a brush, which is this is actually a makeup brush which I ordered on Amazon as a pack of 5, and it works beautifully. It's super dense, like it's just such a dense brush. There is like no give when I push on it, all bristles. Like, I really like this technique with inking up stencils. However, when it comes to something like this, it actually is not going to work very well. So let's have a look at the bottom part of this Waterlily stencil, and you can see there is this shadowing happening here, and super clear on the top of it. That's because I changed the tool, and the tool that I changed to for the top part is this little tiny sponge. This is just a makeup sponge that you can get even in a supermarket in the like makeup area. And what you do is you dab on top of your stencil. Let me just get it out. So here is the intricacy of this stencil. So you can see how super, trying to show you, how super thin. I don't know if you can pick up on that. Super thin this is. It's like a, you know, incredibly thin cutting out here. So if you're someone who is a carefree crafter and likes to work fast and not really fiddle around with things, what you could do is simply just snip it off at the thinnest part, and you will still have a beautiful design left. So you're basically left with this, which is a flower design. So if you wanted to do that, you have, you know, the possibility to do it. But if you want to keep this detail, all you need to do is just, instead of using something like this, which is a brush that you basically rub around to get the ink transferred through the stencil. I'm trying to find, there we go. That obviously, if you do that movement, can you see that the stencil is moving? So that's going to create that bit of shadowing like this. Now, to avoid that, you're going to dab the ink straight onto the stencil, and that means this part is not going to move around, it's going to stay put. But what that also means is that when you're working with a sponge, it's going to really load it up with ink, so it will be quite hard to create that smooth ombre effect, which you can easily. So you can see how more color this is and how a bit of an ombre this effect is. So it's got the darkest center and it sort of fades out into lighter color, which is super pretty, and that's how you achieve this look with a brush. So you just need to know a few of those key things. So once you know them, it's really straightforward and really easy. So I want to talk about tools and inks today and show you the difference. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about tools. Tools, as I already said, I'll try to link this. I don't know if I will be able to find the exact same brushes to link for you, but I'll try to do my best. So I like these because they're black. All of them have like a sleeve on, so if you're working with something and you want to just chuck your brush somewhere on your desk without getting anything else dirty, just put the cap on, it sort of clips on, and then, you know, you can just sort of throw it out on your desk and it's not going to make anything dirty. So that's pretty good. Also keeps the brush clean from dust and dirt and all of that. So that's why I got this one. This one is called Fashion Base. And they seem to be exactly the same brushes, like the same sizes. There's nothing different about them. So pack of 5 was quite an affordable price. I don't remember now, but I do remember it was not expensive. So that's the brush. Now the brush is great because you can create a very smooth, I like working with it, creates a very smooth ombre type of a look, which I already showed you. The next thing is the sponge. So this one I got from Tesco. It's just a supermarket here in UK, and these are quite basic. These were only a couple of pounds, so quite cheap. They're called cosmetic wedges, so they're just little sponges that are cut in a wedge, and all you do is you just ink it up in your ink, and then you're good to go. So that's that, and that's great for intricate details to dab on the ink without having anything move, anything that could potentially move. And then finally we have this one, which is the famous one, I guess, by Tim Holtz, which is just a dabber. So you get these little sponges, which I attached underneath all of the ink pads, and then you kind of keep one for each color, and that's what they look like. They're just round, and they have this spongy applicator, which is similar to that, but you can sort of try and go circular motions, or you can dab as well. So really this is, I guess, a cheaper option, but it's a bit hard to go in circles with this sponge because you don't have a handle, so it's not sturdy. This one is a lot sturdier. This one is just great for dabbing on. So this one kind of doubles between dabbing and smooshing. So it depends what you like. And then I will try to link. There's a pack you get of these little sponges, and I think you get 2 of these tools in a pack. So I will try to link it all up for you. So those are my favorite tools for inking, and at the moment I'm using these 2 to achieve the style or the look that I'm after. Now let's talk about inks. So I'll just lay out a few inks here. So we have a variety of Distress oxides. I will put these ones in just because I have them, but I will explain in a minute. Okay, so inks. What inks are best to use? Now you have some which are pigment-based inks, and they tend to be... have I actually mentioned that these were inked up using the Stormy Sky Distress Oxide by Tim Holtz? So it's got that pastel type of a look. So the pigment-based inks, they have that sort of milky pastel finish to them. So like these, for example, these are chalk inks. And then you also have the transparent inks, which are dye-based inks. So I've got some here by Alton New, and to be honest with you, I am not really using them at the minute. When I was buying them for the specific reason of they were sold like in these packs, which have a beautiful ombre kind of look to them. But quite honestly, I haven't used them that much. The colors are beautiful, but it's just something about the ink that is not my favorite at the minute. But you know, you can use them. In fact, we'll try out all of them, so you can see the difference between a dye-based ink and the chalk inks and the pigment inks that I just showed you. These are distress inks. I love them quite dearly because they're gorgeous. So distress inks are different because they can reactivate with water if you spray them, and you can create all sorts of beautiful, you know, patterns and shapes with the pigments which you can't do with just a dye-based ink. Okay, so my favorite at the minute to use with the stencils, I would have to say, are the Distress Oxides and the Versimagic chalkings. Now, I have gone ahead and ordered 12 new colors last night, and I'm super excited to receive them in the next couple of days. And by that point, I will film the video for you of how to use them, incorporating them with my art. Okay, so let me just for fun get out a couple of inks here. I think I'll go with this one. Okay, so let's have this one, an orange one, and about fossilized amber, and one of these. That should do nicely. So shall I go with actually Spice Marmalade? Yeah, let me show you the difference. So I'm going to go with Spice Marmalade by Distress Ink and Distress Oxide, and then sort of try to match them as close as I can from the colors I have with these two as well. Okay, so what I want to show today is the difference. I'm not going to ink up the whole of the stencil. I'm just wanting quickly to ink up just a part of it. Let's start with the orange. Now I have a bit of the Spice Marmalade Distress Ink. So all you do is just take your brush and really load the brush with it. You'll start seeing a bit of color, and then you're going to hold your stencil flat and just start working. So you can see by going mostly in the middle, I am creating more color, and then around it is a bit more blended out. Okay? So, like that. And then to clean up the brush between uses, I would just sort of do this on a dry napkin. Kind of takes off most of it. Unless you're going to go into a contrasting color, I will just leave it at that. Okay, so let's lift the stencil, and that's what you get. So super pretty. So the idea here when I was designing these stencils is that you don't have to use the entire design, although you can if that's what you're going for, but you can use parts of the design, which again I will show you in more detail. But look at this. So I'll show you that in the next video. So look at this beauty when you have this ombre and kind of the transparent ink. Now let's do the same thing. So before you move on, I'm just going to put my mat. So the way to clean these, you need a spray bottle. Because these are water soluble and they activate with water, you just spray them and dab them. That's the thing I would really recommend, because they have all these tiny details. You don't want to break anything by starting to rub it like that. So you just really dabbing rather than rubbing. Okay, next thing. Next thing I want to show you is the same Spice Marmalade, but this time we have the Distress Oxide. Now look at the difference here. So this one is nice and chalky and milky and pastel-y like, and this one is transparent. Let's see how different that's going to look on our stencil. So when you are loading it up, try to go everywhere around, not just in the middle, because you might end up with less ink in the middle in the future. So I'm going to start doing that. So with the brush, I'm really pressing quite hard, and none of those stenciling details here, for instance, you'll see in yours, the little hearts, and they're touched by a tiny little bit, very thin little area, and they're not really moving around. So the reason for that is because these brushes are beautiful to use with your stencils. Let me just make it a little bit. So the harder you push, the more pigment or ink you will disperse onto your paper through your stencil, and then the lighter you push, the more ombre effect you get. Okay, there we go. So I don't know if you can see, but this is more smoother than the previous ink. I'm going to bring it up to you a little bit closer so you can see. Doesn't it look gorgeous? So here we have a beautiful kind of smooth effect. And then here you can see almost sort of dotted ink. I hope you can pick up on that. But that is the reason why I enjoy the Distress Oxides here. And now again we're going to clean up the stencils. So just spray it, then dab it. Obviously the water would have gone to the back, so then lift it, wipe it, and dab it. Super easy. That's of course if you're using inks. If you want to use it with paints, then you probably already know that you need to wash them in the sink with warm water. All the instructions are at the back, so you can have a little read of how to care for your stencils to make sure they last a long time. Okay, next thing we are going to do again the Alter New Crisp Dye ink. This is Aqualicious, and this is the color it's meant to be. So again, has that transparency. Go into the clean brush because I don't want to mix the orange with the with the turquoise. That might give us a different color. Also, these chalky inks and all of that, they are very good for blending with each other. I'll show you that as well. So I'm just going to load up the brush. And I'm sorry if you can hear any noise. There's someone outside having a chat. Okay, so I'm just creating a bit more color right in the middle. And let's lift it. There you go. So it has that very similar kind of dotted effect. I don't know if you can see. And then